Hello, everybody, and welcome into Between the Ears. It is the morning after, the day after, whatever we want to call it here. I'm a little late here today. Had some stuff that popped up this morning, so couldn't get this recorded until now. But anyways, diving deeper into this West Virginia loss, 59-20 to Oklahoma. And this is more of a big picture thing because I really want to get into kind of the optics of this season and the optics of how a record may not necessarily tell the full picture. As you well know, Ren Baker said probably time and time again this offseason that he wasn't going to put a win total on Neal Brown or over Neal Brown's head to say, hey, if you hit this mark, your job is safe and you're going to be the Mountaineers head coach for the future, and so on and so forth. There's a reason why he said that, and even explained it. Because you can have an 8-4 season, which is very possible right now for West Virginia. They got Cincinnati and Baylor to close out the year. 2 games they should be able to win, but you can still feel bad about a team and its direction after an 8-4 season, much like you can feel pretty good about a team's trajectory after a 5-7 win or 5-7 season. It all depends on how the season goes, the flow of those games, how those games were won, and how they were lost. And if you have a 5-1 season, you think, well, how can you be any way positive about that? Well, if things started off bad, you have a young team, suffered some injuries, just got behind the 8 ball early on, then you finish the year, say 1-3 of your last 4, you feel like, okay, there's still something that's there that you can build on. And it's every time with Neal Brown. Every time he gets right there, right at the doorstep. He's at the 1-yard line, just like the Mountaineer offense was last night. They had 3 cracks at it at the 1-yard line to punch it in and get in the end zone. Couldn't do it. Much like how Neal Brown is at the 1-yard line multiple times this offseason of putting these rumors or these hot seat conversations to bed and saying, this is my job. He gets stuffed at the goal line. And I don't understand how you don't have your team ready to play a big-time football game with big-time ramifications. I mean, you are in the Big 12 title race. You can slam that 14 stuff into the heads of these kids all season long. But when you show up and put a performance like this out there, that's a red flag. You may have not expected to be in this position, or maybe I should say a lot of people didn't expect you to be in this position. But when you get there, you got to continue to prove people wrong and not say, oh, this is why there was doubt. This is why there's concern. This is why this guy was coaching for his job coming into the season. When you have your team playing for a spot to get in the Big 12 title game, you can't come out and lay an egg. You just can't. And you're having to make up for a coaching blunder from almost a month or so ago in Houston. You should never lose to Houston. They're the worst team in the league. How do I know that? Well, they just lost to the worst team in the league, so that makes them the new worst team. You lost to a team that is going to finish 14th, more than likely, in the Big 12 Conference, out of a bye week. And I know we've tried to put that one to bed. I know I've tried to not talk about that as much, but we're talking about the 50,000-foot view here of this season. And when you go back and look at the little things that cost West Virginia these games, man, like it's the Houston game. You should never have that much issues defensively, injuries or not, coming out of a bye week against the worst team in the conference. Okay? You fast forward to Oklahoma State. You should be coming out much like how Oklahoma did last night, playing pissed off, ready to go. You're home. It's a homecoming game. It's a game you absolutely need to win. And you come out and run into your own punter. Okay, well, first off, Oklahoma State muffs the punt. You get the ball back in great field position. And then 2 plays later, boom, ball's out of Cole Taylor's hand and into Oklahoma State defenders' hands going the other way. You have, again, the running into the punter. The defense didn't want to tackle Wally Gordon for whatever reason. This is the same defense that we talked about in the first month of the year as maybe being the best defensive front 7 that Jordan Leslie has had. What the hell happened? Those are 2 games, very winnable. Should have won the Houston game, no sweat at all. And then you put yourself in a hole. You chipped away, and you found a way to take the lead late, only to give it up on a Hail Mary. Bad teaching points in that Hail Mary. Oh my goodness. But you lose the Houston game. You follow that up with a loss to Oklahoma State. You beat a couple of teams that have no business hanging around with you. And then you show up in Norman. Or did they show up? I don't know. The offense went right down the field, scored, and then after that, it was over with. So you look at this schedule, and this is exactly what I'm trying to get to here today. My point in that the optics of an 8-4 season may not be that great when you really kind of dive into it. You lose to Penn State. There's no shame in that. You actually kind of hung with them for most of the game. They scored a late touchdown because James Franklin likes to be, and run up the score there. Duquesne, it's Duquesne, man. Like, nothing you can really say about that. Pitt is 2-8. 2-8. You beat him with your backup quarterback. I give you props there, which we did. We did, and we have all season long. Texas Tech, you beat them again with your backup quarterback. Tip of the hat there, but they also lost their starting quarterback in that game. So Texas Tech's a 5-5 team that's been without their starting quarterback pretty much since the West Virginia game on. TCU has clearly taken a step back from their national championship team that they had a year ago. You lose to Houston, again, the worst team in the conference. Okay? One of the worst teams in the conference, at least, depending on who you ask. Lose to Oklahoma State, who is, even though they got boat raced by UCF, one of the top teams in the Big 12. You beat UCF, you beat BYU, and get throttled at Oklahoma. So if we're looking at this, if I'm looking at this correctly, there's one team on this entire schedule, one team that has a winning record. Actually, no. TCU's 4-6. BYU lost last night. They're 5-5. Central Florida 5-5. So they've not beaten a team that currently has a winning record. And I'm just kind of glancing over that. So, and maybe it is one team. Went over that quickly, but here's my thing with Neal. He's got to take that ball that's at the 1 yard line because it's still there. May got moved back to the 2, but he's got to take that ball and put it in the end zone before this thing blows up on him. You have a great opportunity to go 8-4, go to a bowl game, and get to 9 wins. If you do that, you shut people like me up. You shut the fans up that are not believing in the climb or trusting the climb. You're laying all those rumors and conversations to bed. But if he loses, or if West Virginia loses to Cincinnati or Baylor, there's going to be a lot more of those conversations being had. I'm not ready to say that Neal is on the hot seat just yet because I don't think he is right now. I really don't. I think it's going to take a lot for him to be fired at this point. But again, it's hard to really understand because we don't know what Wren's thinking is. He has not made a coaching decision since he's been here in terms of moving on from a coach. He has not fired a coach since he's been here. So we don't know how his thinking process works, what he's looking for. And with such wide goalposts, it's hard to really understand. But from the fans' perspective and from our perspective in the media, it's a really gray area right now. And until he gets that 7th and 8th win, it's going to stay in that little gray area. But man, I'm telling you, if you lose one of these 2 games, it's going to be a conversation that's going to be talked about all of the month of December. Or I shouldn't say all of, but maybe most of the month of December. So let me know what you guys think in the comments here on YouTube. If you're watching us there, if not, let us know your thoughts on Twitter or X, whatever they call it, about what Neal Brown needs to do in order to remain as the head coach at WVU. Again, I don't think he's on the hot seat yet. He can sure as hell coach his way onto there with a loss next week to Cincinnati, and damn sure can coach his way on there with a loss to Baylor. It's close, but he's also this close to just saving his job as well. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Between the Ears here on the day after Oklahoma. I'm Schuyler Callihan. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Mountaineers Now, and follow us on X at Mountaineers Now as well. We'll be back here in a few days to discuss how West Virginia can beat Cincinnati. We also have our walkthrough game day preview show breaking down the Mountaineers and the Bearcats. And we'll also have a couple of In the Gun episodes that you can catch this week on our site at Mountaineers Now, featuring Jed Drenning, Wesley Euler, myself, and Owen Schmidt, the Runaway Beer Truck. So make sure you follow us, hit that subscribe button so you know when we are dropping new videos, and we'll see you guys here in a couple of days.